Hi, best friends. We gotta talk. So this is not clickbait. This is not nothing. This is like real talk. Something super scary happened to me on Monday, and I didn't really want to talk about this for the first couple days because I don't know. I feel like I had to kind of just like analyze. But listen, if you are brand new and you're just stumbling upon my channel, I have a little. I don't want to call it story time because I just want to give you guys an update on what happened to me. So I do spill pop culture tea every day, but I also just sometimes just kind of tell you guys a little bit about me and things that going on in my life. And I think this is actually very important because it's about our safety. So on Monday, I was walking the dogs, and I never walk the dogs at night because, I don't like going out at night. We live in a very, very, very busy neighborhood. Like our neighborhood, one of the things I love about this neighborhood is there's always dogs, there's always people, there's always, security everywhere. I mean, I feel very safe in this neighborhood. And mind you, it's a very busy neighborhood. It's very trendy and very busy. And, everybody wants to walk here, basically, okay? And so I usually leave the neighborhood and go to a neighborhood next door, which is huge, beautiful houses, okay? And the reason I do that is because sometimes, my dogs get a little overstimulated with so many people and dogs and cars and everything. So I like for them to kind of have more grass and more calm and more chill vibes. So I take them over there and we do a very long, fun walk. Well, Monday, and actually, it's so funny because some of you guys noticed on Tuesday that I was still very like this because I read some of your comments saying, Sebastian, are you okay? So Monday, I was walking the dogs, and again, I'm in this neighborhood where there's a lot of huge houses and there's not a lot of traffic because, if you don't really live there, I mean, it's not a closed neighborhood or anything, but usually, the busy is my neighborhood. So I go there and, my dogs are good. I'm on the phone with my mom and this and that. And I'm walking and I start noticing this van behind me. And I have houses on both sides of the street. And, okay. So I'm like, okay, maybe he's just, gonna turn to a house. So as I'm walking, I have to stop because the dogs need to pee or sniff or whatever. And one of the things that I always do that I allow my dogs is to, if they want to sniff a tree for 10 minutes, we're going to do that because I feel like this is like their time to just be dogs, right? So I just kind of let them, and I'm chill, I'm enjoying the sunlight, this and that. And so every time I stop, this car would stop, and he was driving super freaking slow. So I'm walking this way and the car is just on the street like this. I'm on the sidewalk, he's on the street. So I turn around and the first thing I see is this really beat up van. And he has long curly hair. He is very pale. He has glasses and it's like his hair is like curly long. And so I look at him, he looks at me, and he's sort of like just driving like this. And he stops every time I stop. So that really fucking freaks me out, right? So I'm just like, what is happening here? So I keep on walking and I'm like, okay, it could be an Uber driver. He could be lost, whatever. He's looking at directions, but he wasn't even looking at a phone. He was staring at me. He was staring at me. So I'm walking and just, kind of like, and at that moment I'm getting nervous because like the fifth time I stop, he stops and he just stares. So I said, fuck this. So what I do is I'm walking this way, right? So what I do is I just quickly turn and start walking this way, like really fast. Then I see his car go like this, enter a home, and then turn and start going this way too. So at that point in time, my instinct said, run, bitch. So I ran. I ran. Luckily, it was close to, to a very busy street. So, there were cars. But you guys, I ran, I think, for like 4 minutes. My dogs, thank God my dogs love to run because they were running alongside with me. And it was, I have to say, it was one of the scariest things. And, the reason I'm telling you this is because, there's just a lot going on in the world. And, if you see something, you say something, you know what I mean? That's just the way I believe in. And I mean, I was shaken, and this is TMI, but I got home and I was shaking. I was home alone and I got diarrhea. Like, just TMI, girl. But when I'm very, very nervous, intense, and stressed, I get like diarrhea, girl. And it was just, I mean, I was a mess. My husband was in a meeting. I couldn't really reach anyone. Luckily, I mean, that's the thing about what I love about my neighborhood is that the buildings are very safe. There's security, so I feel safe. But in that moment, I felt so scared, because this person, it was obvious he wasn't lost. It was obvious he wasn't asking for directions. For 5 minutes long, I mean, I think I really fucking, I should have reacted sooner, but for 5 minutes, he was just, every time I advanced, he would advance. Every time I stopped, he would stop. And it just got to the point where I was just like, something is happening here. And the reason I bring this up is because I had my therapy session today, and one of the things that she told me was that, talking about things makes you kind of free yourself from it. About 2-3 years ago, I think it was like 2 years ago or something, I used to walk a lot. You guys know this. I took you out on many walks with me around Hollywood and Sunset and West Hollywood and Beverly Hills. Like, we've walked all over. And I was walking and I was coming back home, and I was waiting for the light to pass, because I had to cross a street. And next thing I know, there's this homeless guy running behind me with this huge stick. And he had made it to, like, the end was pointy. So it was this pointy stick, and he was running like this to me, just running and yelling. There was no one next to me, it was just me. And I had to literally run into traffic. And I ran so quickly. I told you guys about this, that, like, I guess my knees weren't ready for this. And I just ran into this shopping center, and I ran into a Trader Joe's, and I was shaking. And the thing is, it's like, in LA, you see everything. Unfortunately, there's a lot of homeless, there's a lot of people with mental health issues, a lot of substances. So you see a lot of things, but this guy was literally charging at me. And that, unfortunately, made me stop walking for over 2 years, just till recently. And then this happens. But one of the main reasons why I'm telling you is because, I think that life will always throw things at you, right? That's just life. It just happens, and it just is what it is. And I want you guys to maybe learn with me, because I'm currently learning that as scary as things might seem, we can't allow these situations to do what it did to me. For example, to not walk for 2 years. For example, the fires that traumatized me. That's the main, aside from my grief of my brother, that was one of the reasons why I had to start therapy, because I was terrified to leave my house. While we were in Europe, every single day, I will be very honest, like, every single day, our best friend was here. Our two best friends were taking care of our dogs. One best friend, she moved in, the month we were away. Our other best friend came every single day to like just be together. And so my dogs were never alone. My dogs were very well taken care of. And if it wasn't for our best friend, the European anniversary trip would have never happened. But every single day, I was just looking at the cameras. I was looking at, the app for the fires. Like, I truthfully felt like there was not one day where I wasn't stressed, So a traumatic experience does scar you for life. And I think it's important to remind you guys that scary things will always happen, but we cannot let those things take over and be our new narrative. Do you know what I mean? So just wanted to give you all of that, to tell you this, because it's one of the lessons that I'm learning right now. And yeah, I mean, it was incredibly scary. What happened with this guy. I really don't know what he wanted. Being on social media, you do get a lot of, weird messages. I've been, threatened before, and and just, a lot of, I do, there's a lot of crazy things that I see. A lot of people have wished me ill will and say that they don't want me here on earth anymore, and just, all these things. So yeah, I mean, of course, if you put yourself out there, you gotta take extra care, right? I'm not a Kardashian, right? But there's still a good handful of people who hate me. I don't know. I don't know what was happening that day. All I know is I literally had TMI, diarrhea for 2 weeks, for 2 days straight. It was incredibly scary, and but I'm not allowing these situations to domain me. Do you know what I mean? So just wanted to kind of remind you, if you're going through a traumatic experience that has completely taken over your mental health, you know, understand that there is power there, because it is scary, but don't let that, take over everything, okay? So just want to let you guys know that I'm safe, everything is good. Luckily, again, I'm very grateful to live in a neighborhood where it is busy all the time. There, like I said, since it's so trendy, there's always like police driving by, and so this is good. I feel safe here. It just, over there where it was, very kind of private, it wasn't a closed neighborhood. I didn't sneak in nowhere, girl. It's public streets. But it's more private over there. So not going back there. And I love it. I love it here because, we all know each other, right? The neighbors and the other buildings, and we sometimes walk together, but that day I was alone. So just got to be extra careful, and any kind of threat that comes in, my husband told me that, we got to report it. So anything that comes in, I will definitely be reporting, because I'm not playing any games. So anywho, don't let these things take over you. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you on the next one. Mwah. Bye.